The concept of poor design is a rebuttal to the assumption of the existence of a divine creator. The idea disputes the likelihood of an omnipotent, omniscient, and omnibenevolent deity creating organisms with characteristically suboptimal designs that are found in nature. The proposition being that a flawless universe could only be the work of a flawless creator if life forms appear to have flaws or poor design. It challenges the idea of intelligent divine design as the origin of existence. This argument, however, is used more to highlight the absurdity of the design argument rather than outright denial of God's existence. The terminology argument from poor design is not often used, but the concept has been framed in various ways such as poor design, suboptimal design, unintelligent design, or dysteleology. In the 1800s, biologist Ernst Haeckel used dysteleologies to highlight the absurdity of seemingly useless organs and organisms in the 2000s. Donald Wise introduced incompetent design focusing on nature's evident flaws. Christian theology generally responds to this argument by attributing the lack of perfection in design to human misuse of their free will, tarnishing God's intended perfect design. If God is an all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-good creator, then optimally designed life forms would be expected hence. The presence of poor design either negates God's existence or disputes these characteristics. The concept of poor design aligns with the scientific theory of evolution through natural selection. This theory suggests that structures once suited for particular uses are adapted for new purposes or deserted. Any observed suboptimal states would result from vestiges of evolutionary processes rather than inherent poor design. Prominent proponents of the poor design argument include Charles Darwin, Stephen Jay Gould, Richard Dawkins, and Nathan H. Lentz. Its tenet aligns with their belief in the evolutionary process as a steady, accumulative progression. Theistic evolutionists who accept this concept uphold a belief in God, albeit rejecting the traditional design argument. The human anatomy, although complex and meticulously designed, is not without its flaws. Flaws which, without the advancement of modern medicine, can be fatal. In women, the reproductive system holds the potential for disaster with ectopic pregnancies, where a fertilized egg attaches itself outside the uterus, typically in the fallopian tube prior to surgical advancements. Such conditions used to result in the death of both the mother and child. The positioning of the birth canal also creates complications. If the baby's head is too large for the pelvic opening, a natural birth becomes impossible. Men are not exempt from these anatomical flaws. The development of testes within the abdomen and their subsequent migration to the scrotum creates two weak points susceptible to hernias. In the absence of modern medical techniques, such complications would often lead to illnesses like intestinal blockage or gangrene and consequent death. Another questionable design is the pharynx, a passage used for both eating and breathing, creating a considerable risk of choking. Similarly, the human respiratory system is regulated not by the availability of oxygen, but by the presence of carbon dioxide, meaning high altitudes can cause oxygen deprivation if individuals do not consciously increase their breathing rate. The human body also comprises vestigial organs like the appendix and barely used nerves and muscles, such as the plantaris muscle of the foot or the muscles controlling ear movement. These parts, while seemingly harmless, can occasionally cause problems. For example, an inflamed appendix can be lethal if not medically treated. Additionally, the human body harbors a susceptibility to maladies like tinnitus, a distressing condition resulting from hearing loss, and scoliosis or congenital misalignment of the vertebrae caused by malformation of the human spinal column. Furthermore, due to extreme specialization, neurons are unable to regenerate, making spinal cord damage irreparable and resulting in permanent paralysis. Finally, the human inability to synthesize vitamin C, unlike most animals and plants, due to a defective gene, hints at an evolutionary oversight. This deficiency can trigger scurvy and eventually death if not supplemented through diet or other means on the whole. While the human body is a magnificent piece of biological engineering, it is equally marked by its fair share of imperfections. The human anatomy comes with gradients of quirks and peculiarities connected with the broader narrative of evolutionary biology. Features like how the male urethra passes through the prostate can cause urinary complications if the gland enlarges. Our dental structure, shared with other primates, grapples with issues like crowded teeth and poor sinus drainage. Given our relatively flatter faces, wisdom teeth can indeed wreak havoc, leading to neighboring teeth damage and severe mouth infections. The human eye structure, which we share with all vertebrates, has unique characteristics. The retina is essentially inside out, with nerves and blood vessels lying on the surface rather than behind, as in some invertebrate species. Such arrangements necessitate complex adaptations and create a blind spot, however. This inverted retina can improve image quality by reducing distortions via Muller cells. The challenges of this inverted design are counteracted by the benefits of binocular vision. The mentality towards the consumption of junk food can be puzzling. Humans can become attracted towards its non-nutritious ingredients or even non-nutritious psychoactive drugs. This results in unique physiological adaptations favoring these substances. Other examples of oddities include the African locust's nerve cells starting in the abdomen but connecting to the wing, or pandas using their enlarged radial sesamoid bones analogous to thumbs. The peculiar case of the rubisco enzyme, often seen as an inefficient enzyme, plays a key role in carbon fixation despite its challenges like slow turnover and inhibition by oxygen. Plants respond by housing massive amounts of this protein inside their cells. Examples of illogicalities in broad biology also include how giraffes have about 20 feet of extra nerve due to the path of the recurrent laryngeal nerve. Flightless birds like penguins have delicate, light, and hollow bones, apt for flying. Whales carry certain vestigial body parts like the femur and pelvis, integral to their evolutionary story. Contrastingly, intriguing cases of biological immortality have been recorded in species like the Turritopsis dohernii and the genus Hydra. Although it remains far from common across the animal kingdom in essence, the biological world is a tapestry of idiosyncrasies each tied together in the grand narrative of evolution. This narrative seeks to explore the inherent inconsistencies and complexities in the concept of intelligent design, particularly in relation to natural occurrences, DNA, and anatomy. Despite the apparent inefficiency of green plants, when black would theoretically absorb more light energy, and the paradoxical nature of air-breathing whales and dolphins living in water, some proponents of intelligent design hold that these phenomena don't necessarily have to be optimized to be yet designed intelligently. This perspective is further complicated by the functions of seemingly redundant aspects of human biology. For instance, the appendix, long considered of little importance, has been found to contribute significantly to fetal development and immune functions in young adults. This factor has reignited debates around the significance of junk DNA, further adding to the controversy surrounding the role and purpose of seemingly non-functional pseudogenes in the human genome. Critics often point to instances of poor design, attributing flawed creations or evolutionary waste to a disorganized designer, or even as arguments against the existence of a creator altogether. They argue that an omniscient, omnipotent creator would not have resorted to jury-rigging organisms out of mismatched parts. The argument thus stresses the irregularities as an indicator of there not being any designer or an incompetent one. However, there are those who argue that these allegedly suboptimal designs are indicative of a creator deity employing natural selection as a means of creation, thereby countering arguments against units of poor design. However, critics view such claims as attempts at cherry-picking scenarios supporting intelligent design, rendering the theory immune to falsification. Intelligent design and creationism embrace paradoxical standpoints, with good design being seen as a marker of divine intelligence, while poor design is a representation of the human fallibility that led to the world's corruption. This narrative, though complex and multifaceted, serves to unravel the nuances intrinsic to the intelligent design argument and its many interpretations.